are urgently destroying any pathogens at their laboratories that are linked to the United States Department of Defense. He also stated that they have obtained certain documents that prove this. These documents show that the Ukrainian laboratories had been working with dangerous infections such as anthrax and the plague, and that there was an excessive quantity of these biological agents present at these labs.
For example, one such laboratory in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv with pathogens causing the plague, swamp fever, and Malta fever, among many others. This quantity of biological agents present at these labs suggests that all the work being done in them have been part of some military biological programs, and that Ukraine and the United States have been in violation of the Biological Weapons Convention.
So that is what the General of Russia announced. Now, real quick, a little knowledge nugget for you. But if you don't know what the Biological Weapons Convention is, well, in the 1970s, a bunch of countries got together and they signed a treaty that effectively bans biological and toxin weapons by prohibiting their development, production, acquisition, transfer, stockpiling, and use of them. So that Russian general was saying that Ukraine and the United States were in violation of that treaty.
All right. So the very next day after word of the United States developing and messing around with viruses and shit, China made an announcement. Zhao Lijian, who is China's foreign minister, well, he stated that according to China's information, that the laboratories in Ukraine are just the tip of an iceberg, and that the U.S. Department of Defense controls 336 biological laboratories in 30 different countries around the world. And it is being done under the pretext of cooperating to reduce biosecurity risks and strengthening global public health.
So what China said is pretty much, yeah, hey, the United States says that they're doing it. Never mind.
You know what, China? You stay the fuck over there with your organ harvesting shit.
Yeah, just know your fucking place, China. God damn. If you haven't listened to the regular episode today, go take a listen to it. It's about black market organ harvesting, and China is notorious for it. Pretty messed up stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so following that, after China made that announcement, the very next day, Ned Price, who is the United States Department spokesperson, stated, and I quote, "The United States does not own or operate any chemical or biological laboratories in Ukraine. It is in full compliance with its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention and Biological Weapons Convention, and it does not develop or possess such weapons anywhere."
Now, following that, almost every media outlet in America started to state that biolabs in Ukraine was a baseless conspiracy theory and that it was Russian propaganda. Then many Russian news sources such as RT and Sputnik were silenced in Europe and the United States.
Now, around that same time that was happening, there was a United States hearing about Russia invading Ukraine. Now, State Senator Marco Rubio asked State Department Secretary Victoria Nuland if Ukraine has chemical or biological weapons. And her answer was very interesting, to say the least, because it completely contradicts what the spokesperson had said. So we have a short clip of that, and we're going to listen to it right now.
I only have a minute left. Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that the Russian propaganda groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
All right, so right there, she stated that Ukraine does have chemical and biological laboratories, and that they were afraid that Russians may get a hold of it and what they might do with some of the stuff that's inside of it. So there you go. That right there.
Did you see her hands
No,
messing with that pen so much? Dude, she was super nervous saying all that.
but I can tell you this. Whoever's the audio guy for those hearings, get the people to stick their mouth up to the microphone. They're like 10 feet away from it. Damn.
They're like all the way back here.
Yeah. Oh, damn, nobody wants to hear somebody talk about shit way out back here. You know, it fucking sounds like shit. But when you come up real close, man, that shit sounds good. All right, anyways, continuing on.
So following that, United States White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki made a Twitter post that said, "We should all be on the lookout for Russia to possibly use chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine or to create a false flag operation using them."
Yep. So not only did that Secretary, the State Department Secretary Victoria state that, but also the White House Press Secretary stated that. All right. So the very next day, Washington held some Senate hearings where heads of the United States intelligence agencies rejected allegations of bioweapons research and development taking place in Ukraine. For an example, the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, told the Senate Intelligence Committee that Ukraine, and I quote, operates a little over a dozen, and admitted that the United States has provided assistance to these facilities. However, this quote-unquote assistance came only in the context of biosafety, she said. And she also stated that it was something that we had done as countries, that they pretty much go inside there and they say, hey, we're just going to help you out with biosafety. That's all they're going to do. So yeah.
Haines went on to say, "We do not assess that Ukraine is pursuing either biological weapons or nuclear weapons, and statements like that are consistent with long-standing Russian efforts to accuse the United States of sponsoring bioweapons and is a classic move by the Russians." Following that, the CIA director and former U.S. ambassador to Moscow, William Burns, stated that Russia is one who possesses biological and chemical weapons, and that they may conduct a false flag operation with these bio or chemical weapons they have.
It's like everybody pointing, no, you, no, you, no, you're the one, no, you're the one.
You did it.
No, you did it. No, you did it.
Who broke the vase? Who broke the vase? He did.
I actually broke a vase when I was about like 9 years old, I want to say, or 10.
How'd you do it?
Me and my brother were playing football in the house, and I scored a touchdown, and he put his hands up, and I decided to kick a field goal, but it was actually like a punt, and I punted and directly hit the vase, shattered it.
Nice.
I had to go tell my dad that I did that, and I walked in the garage, and he was working out, and he was all pissed. God damn it, we'll whoop your ass.
So I didn't break a vase. I broke a window.
Oh.
Who knew those little rubber balls out of the 25-cent machine can make a hole in the window?
Damn, you must have yeeted that thing.
Dude, I yeeted that thing down the hallway, and my room's at the very end, and the door was open, and right there's the window. I just yeeted it down the hallway, and all I heard was ching.
Damn, I'm gonna get you to try out to be a pitcher.
Okay.
All right.
I probably don't have accuracy, but okay.
Doesn't matter. All right. So after that, the very next day, Russia called for a UN Security Council meeting to discuss these United States-backed biological weapon programs that they had discovered in Ukraine, supposedly. Okay. Now, Russia again claimed that the United States and NATO allies were running military biological programs in Ukraine, and that the United States Pentagon's Defense Threat Reduction Agency is, and I quote, financing and conducting this military biological research inside of Ukraine. Russia also stated that this research had been carried out at laboratories in Kiev and Odessa to study the possibility of spreading particularly dangerous infections through migrating birds. So they leaked out a little bit of what they had, Russia pretty much said, hey, we saw that meeting that all these intelligence agencies in the United States claim that we're the ones doing it. However, hey, we want to call a UN Security Council meeting to discuss all the shit we have, and this is just a taste of what we have about them. They have 2 places in Kiev and Odessa, and they're studying to give diseases and infections to birds that migrate. That's just a little taste.
Damn. Now, the next day, United States officials were questioned about this, and all of them claimed that it was pure Russian propaganda and misinformation, and that these documents did not exist. However, only a short time after that, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov held another news conference. At this conference, General Igor stated that the journalists and experts in the West doubting their accuracy, that the documents he was in possession of has the signatures of real officials and are certified by the seals of organizations.
Yeah, this is where it gets pretty crazy. So General Igor also stated that one document dated March 6, 2015, confirms the direct participation of the Pentagon in the financing of military biological projects in Ukraine. The United States officially funded these projects through the Ukrainian Ministry of Health, according to the agreement on joint biological activities. However, the evidence showed that the real recipients of some $32 million in funds were actually the Ukrainian Defense Ministry laboratories in Kiev, Odessa, and Lviv and Kharkov. And by the way, I'm sorry if I pronounced some Ukrainian cities wrong, okay? I don't have that native-speaking tongue.
We can't roll our R's. The journal went on to state that these facilities were chosen by the U.S. Department of Defense's Threat Reduction Administration, aka DTRA, and the contractor Black & Veatch to carry out the UP8 project, aimed at studying the pathogens of Crimea, Congo, hemorrhagic fever, and other varying viruses. From our point of view, the interest of U.S. military biologists is due to the fact that these pathogens have natural foci both in Ukraine and in Russia, and their use can be disguised as natural disease outbreaks.
According to the evidence, the labs isolated 3 bacterial pathogens and 6 families of viruses, including coronaviruses, all of which were drug-resistant and spread rapidly from animals to humans. A number of documents confirmed the samples taken in Ukraine to other countries such as Georgia, Germany, and the UK. The general then showed official documents confirming the transfer of 5,000 samples of blood serum taken from Ukrainian citizens to the Richard Lugar Center in Georgia, not the state in the United States. Georgia's the country, okay? Which this center in Georgia is backed by the United States Pentagon.
Another document showed that 773 biological assays were transferred to the United Kingdom, while an agreement was signed for the transfer of unlimited quantities of infectious materials to the Friedrich Loeffler Institute, which is Germany's leading center for animal diseases. Following that, the journal then showed Document 81, which was said to be a study conducted at these labs that was a way of transmitting diseases to humans through bats. Whoa. The study was carried out by labs in Georgia, but Ukraine received most of the $1.6 million grant for this project.
The general went on to say that this research in this area had been carried out since 2009. Then, after dropping all those knowledge nuggets, the general decided to toss some names out. He stated that one of the key people involved in this was the head of the DTRA office